My doctor told my husband and me that our baby has many congenital malformations. I want to terminate the pregnancy, but he doesn't. This baby was planned, and I am absolutely devastated. My husband and I met in college, and we've been married for 6 years. We have a 4-year-old son. I know some people will wonder, but we discussed our moral and political opinions before we got engaged, and we both support the right to choose. When we were 21 and 20, we made a mistake that ended in a pregnancy. We were broke and not ready for kids. I decided to terminate the pregnancy, and he was fully on board and supportive. He loves our son so much and is an amazing father. He confessed that he would love to have a daughter too. Fortunately, we are doing well financially, so I agreed, and we started trying for a second baby. We conceived fairly quickly and were happy. We also found out early that we were having a girl. My husband was over the moon. As soon as he was told, he got to work planning her nursery. He asked our son to help pick out what shade of pink he wanted, which crib to buy, and what the theme should be, etc. It was adorable. I don't want to disclose personal medical details, so sorry for being vague with descriptions. At our last doctor's visit a few days ago, we were told that our daughter has severe congenital malformations. They think she might survive birth, but any life she experiences will be painful for her. There have been medical cases of babies with the same conditions who have survived from early childhood to adolescence. These poor children often suffer a lot of pain and discomfort throughout their lives. They are highly dependent, needing care 24/7 as well as multiple uncomfortable surgeries to try and improve their quality of life. We were both shattered and cried together for hours in the car. Then we drove home in silence. Neither of us said anything until my husband started murmuring his thoughts quietly. He kept repeating that we needed to schedule another appointment with the doctor to find out what medical equipment we needed to buy for her, and that we should reconfigure the nursery again to care for her more easily. He said he would definitely have to talk to his boss to be able to take a longer paternity leave. He wants to be by her side in the NICU until we can bring her home. He talked about how we would have to ask his mother to watch our son more often while she is a newborn. He even said we might sell one of our cars, move to a smaller house, and take our son out of private school to have more money to pay for our daughter's care. I was silent until he asked me what I thought. I was direct and told him I think we should terminate the pregnancy now. I feel bad for putting it that way, but I was still reeling from the news. This made him very upset. He started crying and asking why I didn't want our daughter even with disabilities. I mentioned our previous abortion, and he said it was different because it wasn't planned and we had no way to care for the child. Now we are in a pretty good financial situation, so theoretically, we could afford our daughter. I have some personal history with this kind of situation. My best friend in high school was at my house all the time because her parents were too busy with her severely autistic older brother. They loved her, but they neglected her throughout her entire childhood. I told him this story, and he said we would do better by our son and daughter. My best friend's parents were stupid for having a second child after already having one with a disability. Then he seemed hopeful for a minute and asked if I was just scared. He promised he would be by my side the whole time, and we could do this together. I told him it wasn't about fear. Our daughter would be constantly in pain. If born alive, it would be a short and painful life for her. I already love this baby so much that I don't want her to suffer like that. He started yelling that even if she doesn't live long, we could still pour our hearts and souls into making her life as full as possible. I didn't respond, and he stormed into the house. It's been a few days, and he won't even look me in the eye. He sits in the new nursery for hours. Our son is very confused. I know he is mourning, but I really don't want to continue this pregnancy. I love him so much that I have no idea what to do now. Summary: my husband and I found out that our planned daughter has many congenital malformations that would devastate her quality of life. I want to terminate the pregnancy to save her from a life full of pain. My husband wants to keep her to love her for as long as she lives. Update 1. Thank you all so much for the advice and kind words. I'm sorry I haven't responded to many chats and comments. I read them all, and the empathy and compassion shown are really touching. After making my original post, my husband and I rushed to get a second opinion. Nothing changed, and it was the same diagnosis as we were originally given. When I learned that, I scheduled the termination of the pregnancy as soon as physically possible. At first, I didn't tell my husband. He kept praising how we could give her as much love in her life as we could. I feel bad about this now, but I exploded and told him angrily that I was terminating the pregnancy, that I knew how he felt, but I would not allow our daughter to suffer just because he wanted to love her. He was very angry with me after I stood my ground. After realizing that his pleas would not change my mind, he didn't speak to me at all. It was as if he refused to acknowledge my existence. I was terrified he would leave me and abandon me with the remains of our family. I tried to explain it to our son, but I don't think he understands yet. Then, the night before the procedure, he came into my room and apologized for everything and promised to be more supportive of me from now on. I was so happy and relieved that I started sobbing, and he held me all night. My original plan was for my mom to take me to the hospital, and then once done, a close friend would take me home. Since it was only the night before, he said he couldn't miss a full day of work but really wanted to take me home. I agreed to let him, and then the procedure was done in the morning. My son is having an extended stay with my best friend's family. I don't want him to see me like this. The next morning, the termination was performed, and everything went well with only slight physical pain, but the emotional cost was crushing. After it was over, he didn't show up to pick me up. I waited for hours, and he didn't respond to any of my calls. I ended up having to call a work friend to drive me home. When we got there, I only saw a note on the counter saying he couldn't do this. Some of our daughter's special toys were taken from her room. My whole life has crumbled in a matter of days. I asked my mom to watch our son for a while. I still can't contact my husband. Everything seems so pointless. There has been no update since then, and all we can do is hope for the best. Update 2. I didn't attend my friend's birthday without notice because his girlfriend calls me the typical best friend of a boy high. The app wouldn't let me update my post, so someone pointed me in this direction. I hope I'm not breaking any rules. Miles and I have known each other since we were 2 years old because our parents are best friends. Now I wouldn't say that Miles is my best friend. He's a good friend, and we hang out occasionally, but we see each other at all major holidays because of our parents. We're in our 20s. The problem started with a silly childhood memory. When we were 8, we had a wedding play at daycare. I played the bride, and Miles played the groom. It was a play with horrible songs and uncoordinated kids. Our parents took photos and videos of it, and each of us has a photo in our family walls. Miles is dating Lindy. They met 3 years ago and started dating last year. Wendy doesn't like me, so whenever we meet at a celebration, she makes comments about how I'm the typical best friend of a boy. Once, she said that secretly I wanted to sleep with Miles. I have no idea where she got that impression. Miles and I have different friend groups and schedules. Besides the monthly catch-up over food, we don't see each other much. Things got worse when Lindy saw the wedding play photo, and the comments only increased. She even started sending me direct messages on Instagram saying she knew what game I was playing. I talked to Miles about it once, and he told me to give it time. So his birthday was Saturday, and I was invited. Lindy wrote to me saying something like she was going to supervise me. This was their first birthday as a couple, and I wasn't allowed to occupy his time. Honestly, I was fed up. I tried talking to Miles one more time, but he said the same thing. So I just skipped the party when it started. I wrote a quick apology, I can't go, and told him my mom would take his gift. Now he's mad at me for missing his birthday. Lindy is mad because I made everything about me, and my parents are upset because I missed a family function. Am I the asshole at it? I didn't show the messages to anyone because I didn't want to make more of this than it is. I didn't want to poison anyone against Lindy, especially if she is a new figure in Miles' life. That would make our lives more difficult. My parents aren't mad at me or calling me repeatedly like Edith style. They and Miles' parents were just disappointed that this was the first birthday I missed. As for why she's jealous, I have no idea. Neither of our parents ever wanted us to be together. There were no jokes or anything about it. I think they wouldn't want that either. The wedding play photo is in the living rooms because they love the photo and it was our first play. Update: I will update in the first part and clarify a few more things later. After my post, I talked to Miles. At first, he was somewhat angry and thought I had exaggerated things. Some more details are in my last post. We concluded to take more distance while he sorted all that out, mainly because I didn't want the added stress of petty drama. Then I talked to my parents and explained what was going on. They were really upset about how Lindy treated me. They obviously weren't going to get involved, but it was nice to vent to them. Then nothing else happened until Tuesday night. Wednesday was a holiday, so some of my friends took the opportunity to go to an Irish pub for karaoke. At some point, my best friend and I went to the bathroom to touch up our makeup. Then Lindy and some of her friends came in and cornered us. It wasn't pretty. They started talking loudly about bitches stealing men and how some women were born to be homewreckers and imagine being so pathetic as to fake being a boy's friend to sleep with him and how pet me girls are the worst. They kept physically cornering us towards the part where the hand dryers were while pretending we weren't there until my best friend had enough and just pushed through them, taking me behind her. We were almost at our table when Lindy came behind me and pulled my hair, causing me to fall backward against a metal piece where you were supposed to put your feet. It hurt so much that I started seeing white, and then a girl next to Lindy poured beer on me. I can't tell you exactly what happened, but there was an altercation, and someone dropped one of those heavy beer mugs on my head. Lindy's friends were taken by the police, and I was taken to the hospital. My parents were furious, as were Miles' parents. Both came to the hospital. I had a severe concussion. My nose was fractured, and the worst is that I have a hairline fracture in my back. I stayed in the hospital until yesterday morning. Miles tried calling me a bunch of times, according to my parents. They told him not to visit me at that time. I received an official notice saying that apparently, there was now a legal case open against Lindy and another girl, not only for assault but also for disturbing the public order at the bar. So now I will have to deal with all that legally. I finally talked to Miles, and in short, those who said that Lindy was isolating him as a sign of an abusive relationship were right. He told me all the things she said to make him feel bad. She would vent to him about anything in her life and take it out on him. She would scratch and bite him when she was mad. Our conversation ended with both of us crying and apologizing. We will be closer again, at least we will talk about these things more often. He broke up with her, and he is hiding at my parents' house. That's all for now.